Hello, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, your host, here with a special guest today, Daren Coppock from the Agricultural Retailers Association. Daren, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Eric. You have big shoes to fill following Paul Shrimp in this role, but I'll do my best.
Well, we'll certainly try to set the bar semi-high so that our viewers will enjoy the experience. But first off, let me start out by saying it was about a month and a half ago that we gathered in San Antonio for the ARA annual meeting. I guess that was a pretty big success, about 609 attendees, which is on par with what the 2019 show was. Daren, what kind of feedback did you get from folks who attended that meeting?
So the anecdotal feedback on site was very positive. You could feel the energy in the room. People were happy to be back in person again and visiting, and there was buzz in the trade show hall for the receptions. The content we got good comments about. I'm still working on the details of the actual survey results, and so I don't have quantitative numbers behind those yet, but qualitatively, people seem to be very happy with the content that we had and just enjoyed being together again in a great place.
Yes, and I know myself. I mean, I have talked to many people at many trade events over the last 40 years of being a trade journalist, but I will say it was so nice to have everyone back together and see industry friends once again and be able to shake hands. I mean, what a novel concept that seemed like after almost 2 years. So.
Right.
Well, I know we were at the meeting, Daren. You sort of gave your update on the association and what it has accomplished in this year past 2021. So if you could give me some of the highlights of what ARA accomplished in the Beltway last year, and tell me of those, which one you're the most proud of and why.
Wow, that's an interesting wrinkle in that question. So looking back even into 2020 at the start of the pandemic, I think one of the most important things that we did and that others did was to ensure that the agricultural supply chain was considered critical infrastructure. And so when a governor or a mayor or a county commission decided that they wanted to start closing down the economy for COVID protections, the people that work in our member companies, the people that work throughout the agriculture industry were considered critical infrastructure and could continue doing their jobs, putting food on the table for the country. And so, had we not been able to do that, we would have compounded the pandemic with a food crisis. And so the fact that we were able as an industry to keep that supply chain going as well as we did for as long as we have, I think is a significant achievement for everybody. So that's a big one for us. We've tried to work on issues along the way that would ease the burden for retailers as they deal with some of these challenges of the pandemic. Some of that is around the driver shortage, which was actually a problem before COVID. But we're trying to work on some solutions that would allow CDL drivers younger than 21 to cross state lines, trying to expand some of the radius requirements and allowances around the ag exemption, so that hours of service could have a little more flexibility, trying anything we can find to increase that pool of available drivers to the retail members. That's an important thing for all of us. More recently in this environment, we have taken a position against tariffs on imported farm goods. That, and in a specific case, it's about fertilizer imports. Now, this is a policy position that ARA has had consistently since well before I got here in 2009. It's just a very basic provision that says our members benefit from having unfettered access to a broad variety of supplies. They're best able to serve their customers if they have that access. And so while we acknowledge that there are some issues that the fertilizer producers have raised about how fertilizer may be produced elsewhere or how it's priced or how the government subsidizes it, those may all be legitimate issues. But in this current pricing environment, doing anything that adds to the price of fertilizer that gets to the retailer and to the grower is a hard sell. And so we just have always taken a position against those, and we're going to continue to be there. Those are some of the big ones that we've worked on this past year. And then obviously those are not all finished, so we'll carry forward some of those into 2022 as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, my next question, of course, was my follow-up, since we are in a new year when this video will be airing, 2022. Besides those issues that you've been working on, what new goals may be on the horizon for ARA as we enter this new year?
So your readers and listeners may be aware that we now share office space with CropLife America and the Fertilizer Institute here in the Washington, D.C. area. That's been, in my opinion, a very good move for all three organizations, not just financially, but in terms of being able to collaborate and access each other much more quickly, do things together, share expenses, share functions. It's just been a nice development for us. And so we're going to look for ways that we can continue to build on synergies with other groups here in town and elsewhere. But the biggest thing I think on our strategic radar is that we're going to take another look at our strategic plan in 2022 and update it for the situation that we're in. Not just COVID, but with all of the consolidations in the industry, with the changes in technology. So much is changing so fast that it's time for us to make sure that we're positioning ourselves and positioning the members to succeed in the years to come. So that's going to be a big focus of ours in the new year.
Okay. Yeah. And then since you mentioned being, co-located, the three trade groups, I know, just to give a little plug, I'll be attending the Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association meeting in Peoria later in January, and I see all three of you are currently supposed to be in a roundtable discussion together on stage. So I guess since you have the same office, you all can take the same flight and cars and get there and plan out your strategy even before you get on stage. But I'll be looking forward to that.
That's the hope. We may have some other things that affect that schedule as we get closer to the date, but certainly it's an opportunity for us to share those expenses too.
Yes, very good. Well, I know one of the things, of course, that kept coming up while I was at the annual meeting back in November, December of 2021 was the whole issue of the supply chain. And I know that recently I remember reading that you, I think, had testified before our friends in Congress regarding supply chain issues. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you were asked and what you said to those folks, in ways of trying to alleviate this problem a little bit as we go forward?
We actually did not testify. We submitted group comments along with a number of other agricultural groups, and it was a fairly lengthy piece with all kinds of recommendations about supply chain. A lot of it was about this trucking issue that we've already talked about, and trying to make sure that there are drivers available, labor available in general. And so while the supply chain letter, I don't believe specifically addressed the COVID vaccination mandate that the administration has proposed, that's one area where we have engaged, not because we oppose a vaccine. There isn't an industry that relies more on science than agriculture does. And the science is pretty clear that those vaccines save lives and they reduce the symptoms of illness when you do get the disease, and are just a good policy. But what we're concerned about is that if employers become the policemen and have to enforce that mandate, and if there's an artificial, arbitrary level of 100 employees where above that you have to comply and below that you don't, we're going to compound an already difficult labor situation and make it even worse. Several of our members came to me and said, I've already got 20%, 30% of my positions in the warehouse and out in the locations open. I can't get them filled today. And if I have to enforce this mandate, add another 10 or 15% on top of that. It's just, if we're trying to get the economy back on its feet again, this will not help.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. So, all right. Well, Daren, since you are joining us, and it has become a little bit of a tradition if you're on CropLife Retail Week, it's now time for our former friend Paul Shrimp's favorite segment, Fun with Numbers. All right, Daren, here is your number. It can be a number by itself or a percentage, and that should be a little bit of a clue of what I'm asking you. The number would be 49, and your clue would be CropLife 100. So what would you guess 49 would represent?
Well, you set this up well for me, and so I think I'm going to get it. But and I'm sure Paul is watching. I don't know if he's rooting for me or against me to see if I'll fail or succeed. But 49 is the number of CropLife 100 companies, retailers that are members of the association.
Absolutely correct. And I must confess, and congratulations, by the way, on getting that right. You have a higher batting percentage than Paul ever did. Yes, Paul, that is a note to you. Anyhow, I was kind of surprised when I saw that number. I guess I kind of figured it would be that the ARA membership among the CropLife 100 would be a little closer to more than half. I mean, it was just about a 50-50 split. Again, I'm going to give you the chance here. Membership in ARA. Why should those 51 of the 100 that are not members of ARA, what would be to their benefit, directly and indirectly, to become members, official members of ARA going forward?
Well, I think the policy issues that we talked about earlier are a huge component of that. The work that we do to make sure that they have access to drivers, that the supply chain works, that their voice is heard in deliberations around vaccine mandates and other things here in town. Nobody gets deeper into the weeds representing ag retail issues that have a real bottom line impact to a retail location than the ARA does. And so we continually invite those that haven't joined yet to become part of the family. We need their support, not only financially, but also politically. And there are also, beyond the advocacy work and the opportunity to network at conference, there is a whole suite of services that are available to members through us. A lot of them are around professional development. And as you talk to retailers, attracting and maintaining and developing talent continues to be an issue for them. We've got a whole set of programs to help with that. We just launched a new one recently for those that are trying to accept credit card payments for purchases. It should save them a lot of money compared to their current platform. So we're trying to make it not just a policy argument, but also an economic slam dunk that it just makes sense to be part of the group. But I would appreciate you teeing this up for me, but I really would invite and ask and request and beg and plead. If you're not a member of ARA, find out about us, ask a current member, call me. We'd be happy to visit with you and invite you to the family.
Yeah, so Daren, if you could, the web address that folks could visit to find out more information about membership, and if you care to offer up your phone number as well so they can reach out to you.
Sure. The main website is aradc.org. And if you want to go straight to the membership information, you just put a slash and the word join behind it, and it gives you all the information about various categories of membership. When you click through the application form, you can see what the due schedule is. We have a graduated scale based on gross sales so that the smaller members pay less than the larger members do. And so we try to make it accessible to everybody, no matter whether they're an independent, a cooperative, a privately held company, all are welcome.
All right. And the phone number you said too?
Oh, yes. I knew there was one other thing I'd forgotten.
Yeah, that's
my
okay.
Direct line. If somebody wants to call me and ask me about membership, 202-595-1724.
So then, Daren, the final thing I want to talk to you about today, of course, coming up here in 2022, ARA will be having a meeting in late November, early December, again in San Diego. And I guess this one's a special one. So give me a little hint of what is in the offering for the 2022 ARA meeting.
This will be our 30th anniversary of ARA being in its current configuration. Those that have been around the industry for a long time will remember groups like the National Ag Retailers Association and the National Fertilizer Solutions Association that were merged into ARA 30 years ago. And so we'll be honoring that achievement and that milestone. When we did our 25th, we had a lot of past chairs come back and participate in the program, and we're looking to do that again. But it's a fabulous location right on the water in San Diego. I can't tell you, Eric, that I've ever been in San Diego when there's been bad weather. It's always been absolutely perfect. And so we've ordered that up again for 22, and hopefully that'll work. But we're looking forward to being out there and on the West Coast and honoring that milestone for the organization.
Yeah, I will also say, Daren, I have been to many places in California and San Diego several times. And yes, you're absolutely correct. The weather is always very nice. And in terms of cities to get around, visit, see the sights, eat some good food, I think San Diego kind of, in my mind, at least, would probably rank right up there with San Francisco in terms of having a good positive vibe that everyone can enjoy.
We're looking
All right.
forward to it.
Yep, very good. So, all right, we'll put up on a website or on a screen here the website information for folks interested in finding out more about the future meeting as well. So, well, Daren, listen, I appreciate you joining us today to talk shop, what's going on in Washington, D.C. and around the country. And again, if you're not a member of ARA, definitely encourage you to either check out the website or attend the meeting for yourself to see what it's all about. But thanks for joining us. I hope you have a very, very successful year.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Eric Sfiligoj. This was CropLife Retail Week. Signing off, and we'll see you again soon. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.